welcome. Thank you for being here. We're
Hold on.
really
Hang on.
excited to roll out this new resource for friends groups and learn more about how technology is going to help us be bigger and stronger and better. And Joan, would you like to introduce Dustin, please?
Sure. So I would like to introduce to you Dustin Braden. He is the wizard of our website. He joined CORFA about a year ago. Prior to that, um, Dustin has been so instrumental in helping out the Friends of Ottawa. But I am going to now turn it over to Dustin for him to introduce himself. He's got a wonderful intro for all of you. Take it away, Dustin.
Please put your name and your friends group in the chat. And now I'll get out of your way, Dustin. Go ahead.
All right. I will go ahead and start off with sharing my screen, but I'll just say that it's so great to see some familiar faces. Hi, everybody. Okay. Here we go. So, just a second. So my name is Dustin Braden. I'm talking to you guys today about a new tool that CORFA has been developing over a year now, that we've been putting together that I think is going to be really instrumental to helping friends navigate some of the big changes that we're all kind of experiencing right now. But just to give a little bit more about myself, my name is Dustin Braden. I serve on the board of directors with the Coalition of Refuge Friends and Advocates. I've been on the board for a little over a year now, and I have to say I'm probably the best looking member of the board. I don't know. That's I'm just teasing. My students. Oh, sorry guys, my Zoom controls are. Oh, here we go. So I'm an instructor in the Department of Environment and Sustainability at Ohio Wesleyan University. And I'll say that my students always complain that my jokes are really cheesy. So sorry, you guys and the CORFA board has had to put up with this for a little while. But Ohio Wesleyan University is a really small university in Delaware, Ohio. And I mostly teach classes in environmental science and geography. I have to say that honestly, campus, this is kind of the picture we use to catfish our students into attending. It's not usually this pretty, but they got a good shot every now and then. And then I'm also a consultant, mostly for universities and nonprofit organizations. And my consulting is primarily focused on technology, data analysis, marketing, and grant writing. So I just have two kind of sample projects of interest that I've worked on here. The top one was an interactive map that helped connect stakeholders of a rare disease with each other. And then the bottom one is a really cool project that I'm working on right now that it's this 35-foot converted RV that's solar powered, and we've packed it full of science and technology gear. And the idea is that this RV will drive around low-income schools in Alabama and get, science and technology in the hands of these students. So I've been working a lot on this project recently. I have a really broad background in science and technology, but also in education and communication, and lastly in conservation as well. So I wanted to go a little bit into my conservation background too. Over almost a decade ago, I spent the summer of my freshman year in college as a visitor services intern at Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge in Oak Harbor, Ohio. This was my first experience with the refuge, and it was actually one of the most important experiences of my whole career. I spent the summer leading tours around the refuge, teaching local kids how to fish, planning events. It was really a super important experience to me because I got to see up close and personally the value of refuges to their communities. By this point in my educational journey, I had already kind of been fully sold on the value of conservation and of protecting wildlife habitat. But I got to see at Ottawa the win-win for the public. People loved Ottawa, they valued it, and they believed in the work we were doing there. So it was really eye-opening to me and a really important part of my career. I went on to combine my background in geography with this experience at Ottawa in conservation to do some really cool projects in conservation. So on the left, you can see a forest livelihood map I created. This was in collaboration between NASA and the Mexican Forest Service. And the idea was we were going to try to use satellite images to basically guess where we think forests are in Mexico. And so you can see the product here. But this helped us get a better understanding of the distribution of forests in Mexico. And then on the right, you can see a map I made of Curlo Key in Belize. So we made this map using pictures from a drone and stitched them together to make one really massive map. And what you're looking at is several square miles of coral reef. I know it can be kind of hard to gauge the scale, but this is a pretty large area that we're covering in this picture. And what's so valuable about this image is that you're able, it's so high quality because it's taken from tens of thousands of pictures stitched together. You can zoom in to individual corals. And that allows us to compare and kind of track over time the mortality rate of corals due to extreme weather events and changing ocean temperatures. But all of this got started with my experience at Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge in conservation. So I kind of was able to continue that on and combine it with some of my interests. Today, I really want to talk about a new platform that CORFA has created, but I also want to provide a little bit of context now that you've been kind of introduced to me and my background. And something tells me I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but I'll just say that, as we all know, the National Wildlife Refuge System has already been facing budget and staffing constraints for many years, right? And I pulled some of these data points in this chart from the National Wildlife Refuge Association document, Funding Challenges of the National Wildlife Refuge System. And this is not even considered recent changes, right? But the National Wildlife Refuge System has been facing budget and staffing constraints for years. So I think the most important quote that I found in this document was, "No refuges are fully staffed, and more than half of refuges have zero staff on site." At the exact same time, visitation is continuing to increase, right? And that's hitting right at the same time that reduced staffing and a stagnating budget are hitting the system hardest. And if a refuge even has staff, they are being forced to make really impossible trade-offs, and something has to give, right? Whenever we have, everything being limited, things have to give. And I think we've been seeing, a lot of us in our friends groups, we've been seeing what's been giving at our refuges, right? The harm that the lack of resources and lack of staffing might be causing to some of our local refuges. So really important stuff. And all of this is kind of excluding the big changes happening at the federal level right now, which is probably a good time for me to quickly jump in here and say, for those of you that are interested in hearing a little bit more about that, I think it's this Friday at 2 p.m. Desiree from the National Wildlife Refuge Association has a webinar about some of the changes that are impacting the National Wildlife Refuge System, and we'll go into this in a little bit more detail, right? But I wanted to quickly tell you guys a story from my experience with some of my students recently. So my poor students, I constantly use them to test my theories and as a sort of captive audience for my different ideas. And so a few weeks ago, I asked my students if they had ever visited a national wildlife refuge. And it was really defeating, honestly, because all day in every class, again and again, I had an entire classroom of blank stares and just crickets in the background, right? That's not too unusual some days, right? But it was really disappointing this time. And even when I asked students, "Do you know what a national wildlife refuge is?" so many of them just stared at me kind of blankly. And this happened all day, except for one student. He had visited a national wildlife refuge with his family during vacation. And when I asked him what his favorite part was, he said that he really enjoyed visiting the gift shop in the visitor center. And as we started talking a little bit more, I realized that his favorite part of visiting a national wildlife refuge was a service that was provided by a friend's group, right? This gift shop, right? Nature store, which was really eye-opening to me. And when I think back to my experience that summer at Ottawa, I was kind of struck by how much of the refuge was also actually the friends, right? They're so blended together. And so I have some examples here about Friends of Ottawa. The other interns that I was working with that summer, their stipends were funded by the Friends of Ottawa. And I know every refuge is different, but I think these examples kind of show the value of friends groups, right? They also, Friends of Ottawa, they supported the refuge's special events with food, supplies, volunteers, and they also hosted their own community events And really importantly, they had this transportation grant available to local schools to bring kids to the refuge. So they're bringing people into the refuge, which is exactly what my experience with my students shows we need more of. And then lastly, they provided funds to build or get a tractor, ADA fishing access, kayak launches, and so much more. And I think all of this comes together to highlight that friends are filling the gaps, right? For years, friends groups have been playing a really indispensable role in filling the gap between what refuges and hatcheries need and what they receive from the federal government. They make up the difference between what could be and what currently is. And I know I'm speaking to the choir again here, but it's just so important, I think, that in times like these, we all acknowledge how amazing the work we do is and how important it is. Fish and Wildlife Service has been pushed to do more with less for years, and it's getting worse. So first and foremost, friends are helping to fill part of that gap, right? And then also, I think whether through fundraising, volunteering, or event planning, friends have become this really vital conduit that connect the local community to their refuges and hatcheries. Um, and as we all know, though, the gap between what these lands need and what they receive is widening. And I think that the need and pressure on friends has, never been higher. But I also think that importantly, friends are really uniquely positioned to face the challenges we're seeing right now at the federal level because of this connection to the local community. And I think it's never been more important that we as friends come together, work together, and help each other. Um, and just in case, I wanted to go a little bit more into CORFA, right? The Coalition of Refuge Friends and Advocates. So I have our mission statement here, right? To foster a network of nonprofit organizations that support each other, the National Wildlife Refuge System, and the National Fish Hatchery System. But I think, some important context here is that CORFA is led by an all-volunteer group of friends from around the country. And you can see some pictures of our board here, and hopefully you guys see some familiar faces in there. Everything that we do at CORFA is focused on trying to give friends the tools they need to succeed. And we have this, saying that I love: when friends succeed, refuges and hatcheries succeed. And CORFA is only as strong as the friends that make up the all volunteer team of CORFA. And refuges and hatcheries, they really need friends for all of the reasons I've listed to support their work. So all of this is kind of preluding our conversation about this new platform that CORFA has been developing. So over a year ago, CORFA started building this new platform, and the idea was to build a place that would allow friends to collaborate, connect, and share with each other. And I have to say that with everything going on right now, I think there's never been a more important time for friends to work together. And I hope that with today's webinar, we can get into a little bit of how I think this new platform might be valuable for us in the Friends community as we navigate what's happening and as we try to take the lead and stand up to meet the moment. So with that, I think probably the best way to explain a new platform is to just explore it together. So I'll go ahead and switch over to our website. You might have noticed that a few months ago, our website had a bit of a redesign. And that was kind of part of the process for this new platform because the platform is built into our website. So I will quickly stop sharing my screen and jump into our website. Okay. Okay. So if you see our website here, I'm on this new page that if you're familiar with our website, you probably haven't seen before. And this is a timeline page. This is one of the core features of this new platform. Like I said, the main idea here is we wanted to build a place that would allow friends to connect with each other in a secure location, to share resources with each other, and to support each other through everything that's going on. And so we kind of built a tool that at first glance seems a little bit similar to something like Facebook. So when you log into our new platform, and I'll give some directions for how to do this in just a second, but when you log into the new platform, you're going to land on this timeline page. And like I said, it looks kind of similar to Facebook. But on this page, you're able to, for example, type up a post, "Hello world," and share resources with each other, or connect and ask questions, anything like this. You can also see that I can attach photos, documents, GIFs, and then there's some emojis and other features that are kind of naturally built into a social platform like this, right? And if I scroll through, you can start to see how this looks, right? I've got a pinned post right here from another account that I created welcoming you all. And then we have a new event that Joan posted to the CORFA website, and also a new post about the potential federal government shutdown. So hopefully you can start to see that this is really valuable for also accessing the resources that CORFA is constantly putting out to help friends. So it looks, like a very typical social media platform, I think. We also see on the right-hand side here, we've got some other features. But the main idea here is that the timeline page is kind of similar to your Facebook homepage, where all of the groups that you follow and everything that is kind of relevant for you appears in one place. Except one of the added benefits of CORFA having control over this is that there's no algorithms, right? So we're all able to connect with each other without all that extra noise that we have in some other platforms. So here's the timeline. I'll tell you that when you first sign into the website for the first time, you also get a really helpful tour that looks like this, that just gives a little bit more information about the platform and the timeline page specifically. And you can go through the tour to get some extra information about how to do a couple different things on the website. But I'll go through really quickly and show up a couple of the features that I think are the most valuable for us in the Friends community. And I'll also explain a little bit about why I think these different tools that we've kind of built into this are useful. And then we can end with maybe some questions, and I hope to convince you all to sign up for the site. So like I said, this is the timeline page, but a really powerful feature of this new platform that we built are groups. So if I go on the left-hand side here, I can see join a group. And if I click here, I can see that there's a whole host of different groups that CORFA has put together. And these are just like private Facebook groups, except they're hosted on our platform, right? So for example, we have Hatchery Friends right here to connect, National Hatchery Friends. We also have Friends in Retail, Friends Board and Staff, Executive Directors, and Friends Presidents/Chairs. And the powerful thing here is we're able to create as many of these groups as we think are necessary or helpful, but it allows different friends to connect with a subset of the wider friend community. For example, just executive directors, and ask fellow executive directors in the Friends community, hey, what are you experiencing? How are you navigating XYZ? So I think this is really valuable. And if we scroll down, there are also regional groups. Some discussions might be better focused specifically within a region, right? And each regional group has a little map that shows you which states are included in that region if you're not sure what region you're in. But for example, I'm in Region 3, I'm in Ohio, so I'm in the Midwest region. If I click here, we can start to see what these groups look like. So right now, everything is pretty empty because today is the official launch. So there's not a bunch of information on here or in these groups yet. But we can see that there's a private feed here. So just like the normal feed that we saw on the timeline page, there's a timeline and a feed right here that only shows you posts within this group, within group Region 3, right? And I'm also able to go to members and, for example, look at some of the other members who have signed up. We've got a couple Dustin Bradens in here as I was going through and testing different features on the site. But we also have a few different people that have been really instrumental in helping us test this platform out over the last few weeks, right? So this is really valuable because we're able to connect with other friends in our region and talk about specific advocacy issues or organizing issues or just anything within Region 3 that we might need to discuss. And if I go back to join a group, there's a group for each region. Now, one of the cool features of the site is that, at least in theory, when you first sign up for the website, you'll be automatically added to the relevant group. So for example, if I go back to my timeline here, you can see that on the right-hand side, you see your groups. And I have two groups that I've already been included in, even though I just signed up on this count a few minutes before starting this webinar, right? And one of them is Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge. So I can click on that, see what that looks like. And the other is region 3. That's because when I signed up, I had to give a little bit of information about who I am, and it automatically added me to these groups. But there are also other groups that you might want to check out and consider joining yourself that you won't be automatically added to. So you can do that in the join a group section. And with that, I'll just quickly jump into another cool feature. So as you can see that right here, I've got the Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge Group. But this feature is really powerful. Basically, what we've done is we've gone through and found all of the friends groups around the country that we could find and created a custom page for them, a custom private group for them that exists on the website, right? And you can see that this one is already populated with the Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge information. But again, it's got a private feed where just members of Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge can connect with each other. So I've got a post in here from Amy Arndt, the executive director of Friends of Ottawa. But this post is only visible to Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, right? And I think that the idea here is that there's a whole lot of freedom in how friends groups might want to use this area. Some groups might not be super interested in using this private free feed, but I think other groups might be interested in connecting with their board members and staff at their friends group in a new way that's maybe outside of email and maybe could be organized a little bit to help conversations flow and organize resources for projects, for example. And I see some things popping up in the chat. So I'll take questions on this part that I've kind of gone through so far in just a second, but I'll quickly finish touring friends groups. Another really valuable part is that when Amy went through and kindly edited, updated her friends group when she signed up for the website, she added some extra information about Friends of Ottawa. So I can see, for example, their websites, right? I can click that and go to their website, their Facebook, also their location. They're in Region 3. This is their refuge address. And then a couple more pieces of information that Amy has provided about the type of group. So their refuge group, they're an official friends group. I can see when this was last updated. And then I can also see, do they have a visitor center? Do they have paid staff? Do they have nature store? And a little bit more information about their budget as well. And so while this private feed in Friends of Ottawa is only visible to members of Friends of Ottawa, so that could be staff members, board members who sign up for the website, this Friends Group detail, this tab is available to everybody. And this is really valuable for helping us get a little bit better understanding about the other friends groups around the country, who we're communicating with, and kind of what their situation is, because we all have slightly different circumstances and capacities. And I think it's really valuable to understand which groups are maybe more similar to you and which groups are a little different from you, right? So with that, I can quickly pop into, there's a few more features that I want to show, but are there any questions that I've missed in the chat so far? Are there any questions from anything that I've gone into?
We've got questions coming in, Dustin. The first one, this is nifty. Is this built with Circle?
This was not built with Circle. This was actually built on WordPress. So this is Buddy Boss and a couple other custom features that we're using.
Okay, and then you've already answered this, I think, but how do you create your own friends group? Do you make those or do we? And you've already answered that question. They're there for us for the most part. What if you're a friends group that doesn't find your friends group there, though?
Yeah, so when you sign up for the website, you'll have to say which friends group you're with. We've tried our best to make sure we didn't miss anybody, but I actually have a little link while you're signing up that says if you don't see your friends group, please click this link. And basically, you'll just shoot us a message and we'll get your group added ASAP.
Okay. Rochelle wants to know, is this a proprietary tool or is it a third-party platform CORFA has customized for our needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is probably about 30% custom built by CORFA, and then 70% built using some open source tools and a little bit of proprietary tools online. So it's kind of a mix, but this is hosted completely by CORFA on our web server.
And I want to point out that when Dustin says it's been created by CORFA, he's actually saying it's been created by me. He's just being very generous with that term. So another question, how secure is secure as you describe this platform?
Yeah, absolutely. This platform is meant to be very secure. So we have a ton of safeguards built in. Everything that you provide personally, your email, your password, completely secure and encrypted. And we also have many layers of kind of security built in as well. I'll say that the most important data is all locked down, but of course, we also have this platform built so that people can sign up for it and access it. So the biggest weakness is other friends sharing resources or taking screenshots, that type of stuff, things that we can't control. But generally, this platform is designed with security in mind. It should be very secure, and we have all kinds of things like antivirus software and everything else that vet all of the documents that get uploaded.
And it even screens out the president's agenda when she tries to send it out to her board sometimes, right, Dustin?
That's true.
Dustin is Johnny on the spot, and he gets everything. Any little glitches, he gets fixed immediately. Next question from Ray. Can we send invites to members' email address?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, since I think I'm still sharing my screen, yep. If you go to your profile right here, in the top right-hand corner of the website, you'll see your name. If you click on that, there's a little drop down that comes down with some extra options, right? So we can see this drop down that just came down. And if I go down, I can see email invites right here. And if I click on email invites, I can actually invite people who haven't signed up for the website to sign up. So I can say, well, I'm blanking on names, so I'll pick on Amy real quick. Uh, Friends. Well, I'll just type in example gmail.com, and then I can customize the subject and the message contents. I can also add several different recipients if I want to invite several people at once, and then I can hit send to send an email inviting them. So yep, that's built into the site.
Okay, I'm going to read a couple of comments too, just so you know what other folks are thinking. Coolest platform ever. I just signed up. Thanks for this powerful tool. And love the pages for each group. This is great for connecting with board members. The next question from Zoe, do I sign up as an individual or as a Friends board member?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you first sign up, you'll sign up as yourself, but there'll be a few questions about who you are. And one of the questions is, what is your role? So at that point, you'll click the drop down and there's a few different options like I'm Friends staff, I'm a Friends board member, I'm a Friends volunteer. And you'll select which is relevant for you. And then it's going to ask you what Friends group you're associated with. So you sign up as an individual, but you'll also have some extra information that connects you as I'm a board member.
Thank you. Chris says, I'm working on developing a list of free or low-cost tools for the local National Wildlife Refuges. This will be a great place to share it.
Oh, that would be really helpful.
And Sharon and Mike's thought on your earlier chart, you showed staff and administrative positions. It seems that the numbers are the reverse of what they should be. Need more workers at the bottom of the pyramid. Don has asked, how secure is, sorry, I read that one already. Can we store and share documents for friends groups?
Yeah, absolutely. So just since I'm still sharing my screen, I can jump in here and show what that looks like. So since I've kind of showed what a group is, I can also just jump back to the timeline and maybe the timeline makes a little more sense. The timeline posts to everybody who signs up for the website. So all of the other friends from around the country are able to see what's in the timeline. They're not going to get a notification that you posted, but when they visit the website, they'll see. And if I click here, you can see that there's an attached document or attached photo. And if I click on that, I'll get the typical file manager that pops up and has a little drop down where I can select my file and upload it here. You can also share those within groups if you only want a document to be seen by other board members and Friends of Ottawa, for example.
Okay, from Jonathan, can you set it to notify you external via email when messages are posted in one of the groups, or do you have to remember on your own to continually come back to the site?
Yeah, that's a really important question, right? I personally get probably way too much email. I think I've got around 35,000 unread at this point. So I'm pretty big on trying to have kind of control over my notifications. I'll say that when you join a group, you'll get notified anytime anyone sends a message or posts something in that group. Now the timeline's a little bit different. You don't get notified, and there's no way to subscribe to the timeline, just because there could be so many different posts posted in here in a day. So the timeline, you'll just have to come and check. The timeline will also show different posts from the groups that you subscribe to, but by default, if I go to, if I go to join a group, if I were to join any of these groups, whenever anyone else posts inside the group, I'll get a notification. And just in case anyone wants to quickly know how to control those notifications, oh wait, let me see. I'm not in, let me find a group that I'm in. Oh, you know what? Might be better if I use my admin account. So really quickly, I'll switch over to a different account, join a group. Oh wait, my groups. So here we go. If you go to a group, you can see a little bell notification right here. That's the quickest way to unsubscribe from that group if you're getting too many emails. And if you also go to how-to guides, one of the articles in here has a little bit more information about how to manage your notifications and emails if you need to unsubscribe. But by default, you're subscribed.
Okay, and is that unsubscribing to notifications only? Is that correct? Is that what I
Yeah,
heard you
that's
say, Dustin? Okay.
right.
Because that was another question that just came up, so you've already answered it. Okay, is this platform for our entire membership or for our boards and key volunteers?
That's a great question. So for now, the platform is only designed for board, staff, and volunteers specifically. Now, if you have, a really important member that is kind of a quasi volunteer, I don't think it's a problem to have them sign up as a volunteer. But the goal is to not have every Friends organization in the country have all of their membership here. This is just a place for, active board members, staff, and volunteers.
Okay, and last question for right now is how do you set up your page with the picture and website? So I have to request to edit access.
Yep. So I can quickly show that. Um, Groups. So, for example, in Friends of Ottawa, like I said, when you sign up for the website, you should automatically be added to the Friends organization you're associated with. And if you go in here, right now, Friends of Ottawa's group is already populated because Amy went through and updated it. But you can see that I have this tab right here in the group that says Request Edit Access, right? Request Edit Access. This is just a little safeguard that CORFA has built into the platform to make sure that group details aren't being changed by someone that just joins the group coincidentally. All you need to do is your name and email should automatically fill in for you. Just write a quick message saying, I'm trying to update, I'm the executive director or I'm the so-and-so board member trying to update my group's details. And once that's been approved, this tab will disappear and a new tab will pop up that says manage. You also get an email letting you know that you've been promoted. When you've been promoted, you can click the manage tab and edit those details. And I think you said that's the last question for now.
That's the
So
last question for now, Dustin.
perfect. I will quickly show a couple more of the features and go into a little bit more about the big picture stuff, and then we can open the floor to as many other questions pop up, and I can send you all a link to sign up if you haven't already. But one of the really valuable parts of this is, like I said, these friend group details. This is available to everybody, and we have a really early prototype of something called the Friends Directory right here. So you can see on the menu on the left, Friends Directory. If I click on that, it loads and I see a list of friends from around the country, right? And they've got their name, the region, an automatically generated picture. And right now, most groups are empty and blank. They need to be updated through the process I just showed you with Friends of Ottawa. But I did have a few groups that were kind enough to kind of test out the website for me. And I can see that, for example, I can sort, let's say I'm looking for friends groups only in Region 3. I want to make sure that they're a refuge group and I want to make sure that they have a visitor center and paid staff. Okay, so then I see Friends of Ottawa comes up. So I'm kind of rigging it to show the groups that are already updated. But we can see some of the early updates from Friends groups, and hopefully someday this will look this entire page will look like this, where we have the logo and extra information. And if I click a group that I'm not involved with, right? So I'm not in, for example, Friends of Sini. If I open this up, I can see all of those details that they've decided to share with the rest of us, right? And I can even see their board members and who's in the group. and I can click this little message button if I want to send, for example, Polly a message and say, hey, your group looks similar to my group. I have this question for you. So we kind of built all of this into the site, and that's what makes us each having our own friends group page on the website so powerful, I think, is these kind of friends groups and this friends group directory. There's also a member directory that lets you see who's signed up for the website and some other things. But I think most important is just the idea that we've tried our best to design this as simply as possible and to look kind of similar and familiar to Facebook. In early testing, everyone has been really kind and said that it feels pretty comfortable for them. So I don't think it takes too long to get the hang of it. But if you look, for example, I can just hover on the like button and I get the normal reaction feature that you might see with Facebook, except we've also got an added blue goose in here, right? And I can click the comment button and leave a comment. So it's really similar to any other social platform that you might have learned about. And we specifically kind of mimicked the Facebook design as much as possible. I can also see on the right-hand side some extra information. So I haven't updated my profile. If I wanted to, I could click profile photo right here. And that's going to take me to the section where I can update my profile. I have my groups, which I already showed you. I can see the upcoming events. So this one's going on right now. But the upcoming events and webinars that CORFA has added to our events calendar and the recent blog posts that have been posted. I can also always go to the news and events feed to see more of this. But the idea is that we'll have one place where you can find everything that you need, whether that's resources or connection with other friends or links to webinar recordings and documents that might be useful. So we have the same resources that CORFA's been putting out for years that are really valuable, like in the Resource Center. But it's combined with this social element that allows us to share with each other and connect. And I think that, well, we can also quickly show the events feature. I think that what's so powerful is that ability to connect with each other. And what's so important in these days is to connect with each other, ask each other questions, and share resources with each other. So I showed you the messaging feature, but I'll just quickly show this, very fast. Right now, I'm new to the platform, so I don't have any messages, but it kind of works similar to Facebook messages. I can, for example, shoot, let's see if Cheryl comes up. Cheryl Hart. I can shoot Cheryl a message here and find her on the platform. And then there's also some really valuable kind of features built in. But I think that right now we're at a really early stage of this. We've been building this for a little over a year, but the future is also pretty bright. We have some really exciting plans that I'm looking forward to trying to execute as we get more and more people on the site and using it. We've talked about adding courses to the website so that, for example, if you want to learn how to use Canva and you've never used it, we could have a 10-part series that kind of step by step takes you through. Here's how to use Canva to edit documents or to make, for example, a social media graphic. Or maybe even someday we could have some type of new board member onboarding kind of course built into the site. So your new board members can take this course that'll be added to the site. We also have some pretty interesting advocacy tools that we're hoping to build in. I can show just one of these. Like I said, we're at a real early stage, so this is just in testing. But for example, I don't want to dox myself, but if I say, you know what, let's try 3669. This isn't my address, okay? If I type in my address, in theory, here we go. I can see my congressional representatives, go to their website, call them. So I think that there's so many really valuable features that we can build into this in the future as we keep growing this platform. But the most important thing is that there are some really massive changes that are underway. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but now more than ever, refuges really need us. And I think as I think back to what friends mean for refuges and that story about my student whose favorite part of a National Wildlife Refuge was visiting a friends-run nature store, I think that friends are up to the challenge. And I really hope that this tool will help us all rise up to meet the moment. So with that, I can open it up to any wider questions. And I'll also share a link in the chat for you to sign up for the website.
If you're ready for the next question, can we set up a document archive like meeting minutes or bylaws? I assume within a friends group.
Right. You absolutely can. I'll just really quickly send the URL. So if you go to the CORFA website, in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a blue sign up button. And that's where you can go if you'd like to create an account. Back to the question of having a document portal. Yes, so groups are able to, whenever somebody posts a document to the feed, that gets added to a little document tab that will kind of appear as you share resources. And everybody is able to see, everybody in the group, I should say, is able to see what documents have been shared over time. And you're even able to organize, kind of similar to Google Drive, you can create files and organize board meeting minutes, for example, into the website. So yeah, that's totally possible.
Will these pages be used to demonstrate to federal officials how friends groups have had to close the growing loss of FTEs for the maintenance staff and visitor services over the last 15 years?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think there's lots of things we can do with this site to maybe establish important data about what friends are doing. I also think that having everybody in one place working together should really help with trying to organize responses to things like that to address, hey, we're looking at this loss with, the FTESs for maintenance staff, FTEs for maintenance staff and visitor services, and connecting with other friends to organize those types of responses. That's exactly what this platform is for. I'll say that this platform, everything that I showed you is privately facing. So only friends, board members, and friends staff can see it, but it's a great place to organize those types of responses.
This is from Ken. He suggests that you explain the possible Zoom edition that we talked about.
Absolutely. So we're hard at work to expand the features that are kind of available on this. I kind of mentioned courses and some more advocacy tools in the future. But another feature that we're hoping to build in very soon that I think is really powerful is a Zoom integration so that your group will be able to create Zoom meetings from within the platform and join that Zoom meeting. So for example, I'll just say that we have a CORFA group that we've kind of been testing this out over the last few weeks with. And we could organize our CORFA board meetings using Zoom on the platform. And it makes it really easy to find the Zoom link in one location. I know exactly where to go to find the Zoom link for our next meeting. So that's kind of the idea with that. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but we probably have a few more weeks of testing, but we hope that feature will go live soon.
Okay. Are the upcoming events only CORFA events, or can friends groups post events as well?
That's a great question. So far they
Stop
are
saying that.
Dustin, would you like me to take that one?
Yep, go ahead, Joan. Thank you.
So as of right now, the events that we've put up on the on the website are CORFA events, NWRA events. We have put up events that friends have shared with us in their newsletters or through a Facebook post that are of national, that they've opened it up to the whole friends community. So those sort of things have been posted. But in terms of who can post them, Dustin, right now it's just us, just the CORFA group, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
I hope that helps.
Okay. Can you make a category on the menu to show all the friends groups that have endowments? That would be useful.
Absolutely. That's a great question. As you start using the website and think of different ideas like what if we added this to the filter, please feel free to share them, and we're happy to add them in. That should absolutely be possible sometime in the future.
Okay, can advocacy requests or thoughts, recommendations be communicated freely on this site?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a big idea. One of the big goals of utilizing the website is a place for us to organize different, advocacy responses, especially within the regional groups. Recently, there's been, CORFA has been kind of leading charge of organizing regional advocacy meetings. That's, a conversation that might make sense in one of those regional groups. We could also talk about making a new group dedicated just to advocacy, but absolutely, this is definitely the place to have those types of conversations.
Okay, you're answering my question about advocacy. Can we also use it to show how the loss of FTE staff impacts available volunteer support?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, like I said, I think that this is the perfect platform for trying to um, organize responses or get friends groups to share the types of data that they have um, for that exact type of reason. Now, I don't know that I can't say for sure that CORFA is going to be available or able to lead these types of discussions, but the goal is that this is a place for any of us to say, "Hey, I think we have to show this. Please share this with me. Please let me know if you have data and connect with each other for that."
Can you please, excuse me, got the wrong question here. Please keep this tool privately facing. Too much effort has gone into building it. And that's the last. There are some other awesome tool type comments. So let's open it up. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can just ask it if you don't want to type it into the chat.
Okay, Sharon and Mike, I think I see your hands up. Oh, I think you're muted. Sorry.
How many friends groups have endowments for maintaining the refuge?
I have no idea. Joan, do you have any guesses at that?
I'm only going to do a guess at it, Mike, but my thoughts are there's probably like a couple of dozen that may have endowments. Most of them, I would say most of them are focused probably on education. And I think that you guys are sort of at Hockley Forest, a unique one in terms of trying to help maintain that refuge.
What would be very, very useful is if we had somewhere we could go to and identify those refuges and how have endowments and then start conversations among the people associated with the endowments to learn more about how they might do theirs better or vice versa.
Absolutely. I think that would be really great. And part of the idea behind this friends directory is that friends are able to share information that we might not, that, CORFA or any of us might not currently have available, like how many friends groups have endowments. And then we can also create a group dedicated to discussing endowments if we decide that that's a route we want to go in the future.
Right.
So that's exactly the type of work we can do here.
Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts?
Well, I'd have a couple of questions in the chat about the recording of this. Yes, you will receive a recording. Eden will get that out to you in the very near future. And also this webinar, along with all of the others that we presented, will be available from the website, the Resource Center, and the webinars tab. So going, gone. Dustin, this looks amazing. I know it'll be a great resource for friends. You need to read all the chat, Dustin, because you're getting lots of compliments in there for this wonderful platform that you've built for all of us to enjoy and make use of. So if there are no more questions, do we have any announcements or any last minute things, Joan or Eden or anyone?
Eden, do you want to make sure everybody knows about the Zoom call on Friday?
Yeah, I think Dustin had mentioned it while he was speaking a little bit earlier, but we will be having another Capital Conversations webinar with Desiree Sorensen Groves, our president and CEO, on Friday, which is the National Wildlife Refuge System's birthday. This conversation is going to be a little bit different since the last one that we had was really focused on friends organizations. This one's going to be having everyone that's a supporter of the National Wildlife Refuge System. So we're thinking we're going to have Probably I'm hoping over 500 people joining from what it looks like right now. So it'll be a little bit of a bigger meeting, but feel free to join that on Friday if you guys would like to. I'm going to drop the sign up form in the chat. And that's it from us.
Yep.
Mhm.
And the other thing too is that CORFA will be having the next Friends Share call. For those who aren't familiar with that, that is an opportunity for friends to get together on a Zoom call. We hit certain topics for like a 10-minute TED Talk and then open it up to questions. There's usually 2 of these TED Talks going on at the same time. And then because of everything that's going on, the last hour of that call will be open to just general discussion because we all have a lot to say and to think about. So that is on March 25th. CORFA will be sending out an announcement on that via our constant contact, which at some point we won't be using it. We'll be using the website instead to send out those messages. So anything else from the group that we want to make sure we share?
What time was the actual call meeting?
Richard, the call with Desiree? That's going to be 2:00 on Friday.
2 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
Just
Thank
to
you.
be clear for those of us on the other coast. Okay, thank you so much, Dustin. This has been really
you.
a great rollout of this new. Oh, I see another hand that I'll get to in just a minute. Great rollout of this new resource, and we're hoping that all of you will go and jump on and start getting acquainted with it so it becomes well populated and well used. And Mark, a question or comment? Okay, if there are no other comments or announcements, then thank you very much for attending. And again, Dustin, thank you for creating this and for explaining it in such a non-threatening way for those of us who aren't quite as techy as you are. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you either tomorrow or Friday on Desiree's webinar or somewhere in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.